Now then, how are you doing? I want to talk to you about cloud inversions. Now, cloud inversions are a great way of spicing up a landscape. The moment the sun rises can be a spectacular and special moment. As the days get shorter and the mornings colder, the potential for low-lying mists clinging to the valley floor become more frequent. Morning valley fog often appears after a clear night, where air near the damp ground has cooled. As the cool air is heavier, it stays in the valleys, leaving the tops in clear, warmer air. Well, the sun will normally destroy the effect within an hour or so of rising, so only the earliest of risers get to enjoy it. Well, painting such an effect is surprisingly simple. Let me show you. To demonstrate low-lying mist, I need first to create myself a landscape. This is going to be loosely based on a view I know well, the Great Ridge between the Vale of Edale and the Hope Valley in the Peak District. The time is sunrise. It's early, great for early birds, not so great for night owls. I'm going to lay down a wet in wet wash consisting of cadmium yellow, cadmium red and French ultramarine. It's a wet in wet wash, so I need to work quickly. Timing is everything. If I drag my heels, then the wash is likely to dry unevenly, meaning a greater chance of backruns, hard lines or other unwanted blemishes. In watercolour we work from light to dark, so I'm applying the three colours in that order. I'm also working with my board set at a small angle of 20 to 30 degrees. That way I know which way the paint is going to flow, giving me extra control over the wash. Wet in wet washes have a mind of their own though, and it's worth remembering, if the paint isn't flowing quite how we'd hoped, that we always have the ultimate sanction of lifting the board up and tilting it to encourage the paint to flow in a different direction. So far so good. While the wash is still slightly damp, I'm going to lift out a couple of small highlights with a piece of scrunched up tissue. This is just to draw attention to the area of sky where the sun is making its appearance. Another way to do this would be to scratch it out after the wash has dried, or if you're really organised, you could always mask the highlights out before applying the wash. It's now time to start painting in the hills. To maintain harmony within the composition, I'm going to recycle the same colours I used in the sky wash. This is all about creating a cloud inversion, with mist clinging to the valley floor. To do this, I need to soften the bottom edge of the hills off with a damp brush. Once again, timing is crucial. If you leave things too late, then the hills will dry and softening off becomes much harder to achieve. The trick is to run a damp brush along the bottom edge, encouraging the paint to flow downwards into it. At some point, however, it would create another hard line.
To avoid this, I dab the area very lightly with a tissue, just to diffuse it and prevent any hard lines appearing. Wherever you want the mist to appear, the process needs to be repeated. As I say, timing is everything, and the damp brush needs to be close by at all times, ready to soften the edges off. I'm using French ultramarine throughout for the darker tones. You can see here that the distant mountains have taken on a slightly different hue, because they have the wet in wet wash beneath them, altering them in a subtle way and contributing to the final colour. Once again, I'm softening them off along the bottom edge with a damp brush. Notice I keep saying damp brush and not wet brush. A wet brush would bring too much moisture to the job and would be more likely to bleed back into the wash, creating unsightly backruns. So we're almost there. I'm going to add a smattering of small details to the hillsides, just for visual interest, and to explain their three-dimensional shapes a little more. It's important, of course, even with these details, to maintain the softening off procedure. Tall trees would rise above the mist, hinting at what lurks just below the surface. These too must be softened off along their bottom edge to help keep up the illusion. Trees down the sunlit side of the hill follow its contours and disappear into the low-lying mist. Generally speaking, air gets colder with increased altitude. Cloud inversions are caused by the opposite happening, and the inversion actually refers to a deviation from the normal properties of air associated with altitude. The phenomenon often occurs at sunrise, when the heavier, cooler air in the valleys is trapped beneath the higher layers of air warmed by the rising sun. What about that then?
Well, I hope you enjoyed that and that it's inspired you to get up at the crack of dawn to climb a mountain and enjoy the full cloud inversion experience. I'll see you next time. Take care.